Okay everyone, so this is our big Buddleja bush. It's beautiful in the spring and summer, covered in butterflies and stuff. So this was a branch we took off last year, planted as a cutting. I've just been and pulled up from where it was. It had rooted through the bottom into the ground, and I wedged a couple of these things in here just to hold it up before it had any roots. And you can see where the roots had come out. I've just rang it back up here. It was on the grass. So I think that's rooted successfully. It was a big old cutting. Didn't think it would root, but it did really easily. This is the parent tree, parent plant. Probably going to take some more cuttings now that I know. They grow so easily and well from cuttings. This is a really old Buddleja, I'm not sure how old. We've been here 7 years and it's grown like mad since we've been here. And we hack it back all the time because it encroaches on the driveway. I've left these new shoots this side to hopefully get it to go back this way. But as you can see, it just grows out of control every year, and we could probably get an extra car on here if it wasn't there. I'm not going to remove it, but I do hack it back a bit. So I'm going to take more cuttings from it, like I said. So I've just cleared this pot out. It did have one of those big weeping willow type things in it. Weeping pussy willow, I think it's called. But that died, unfortunately. I think it just got too hot and dried out in the summer. So they're probably much better off planted somewhere in the ground where it's nice and wet. So I'm going to put that Buddleja in there. Hello, Bonnie. So I've got to somehow get this out of the pot, ideally without breaking all the roots that are coming out. But I'm sure there's plenty of other roots in there anyway, so I'm not too worried at all. And then I've got my little handheld rootameter. I'm just going to churn up this pot. Once I've got that pot off, I'm going to fill it up with stuff from this pot and then just basically slip pot it into the hole. And we can get rid of this thing, that can be firewood. Alright, so time to try and get this out of the pot. Try and do this one-handed as well. Look at the roots coming out there. And there was more, but they broke when I pulled it up. So hopefully most of them should fit through the holes. And we can get this pot off. I don't want to break the pot. If needs be, I'll just cut them roots off. I'm sure there's loads of roots in the pot. It's quite a big pot, probably about 10 or 15 litres. But look how much the tree's grown. Even flowered this year quite nicely. So it's done really, really well for a cutting from that big beast. So actually came out quite easily. All the roots are intact still. There's the concrete things. I may well leave them in there. If they come out easily, I might take them out. So that's the pot I'm going to put it in. A fair bit bigger, but I think it will do it the world of good. It could probably stay in that pot. I could even plant it somewhere in the ground, but I kind of want to keep it, and we're in a rental property. So I'm going to dig some of that out, put it in there, and try and plant it a bit shallower, and spread these roots out as well. So I'm looking at loosen this up. I was going to take some of the stones out that are in there, the slate, decorative slate, but it can just be mixed in. So I'll get this done, empty out all the loose stuff into here, and then hopefully plant that in there. Alright, so I'm just going to start filling up this pot with this stuff. I've just dug this all over. I'm not worried about the willow roots. They'll just break down over time and add to the soil, feed the soil. So I'll carry on doing that. And then when I plant this, I might chip off a little bit more and try and spread these roots out sideways so that this is a lot flatter. Could even take a bit off the top probably, because most of the roots grow down below anyway. And this was just one thing, obviously planted quite deep because it's cutting, so we might even be able to get some more trunk at the top, make it look even nicer. Okay, so now's where the real fun begins. We've got to get that into that pot. So all I've got here is a tent peg, and I've just rounded off the tip with an angle grinder. But what I'm going to do is chip away at the soil, especially around the top here. Hopefully get these out. I don't know if they'll come out. If not, they can stay in there. I don't want to break any roots, but I want to remove some soil. That's all the soil I took out of there. And then I'm going to put it in there, spread the roots out nice and evenly, radially, like the spokes on the bicycle tyre. Get them all in that pot nicely, and then it should be happy in there for at least a couple more years, I would have thought. Get rid of the weeds while we're here. Try and get these out. They should just come out. I just wedged them in there to hold the thing upright whilst the roots were growing. So getting them out of the way. Got a new growth down here. So I believe it was only one tree, one cutting. Yep, they're joined down here. So ideally, if we could get the soil down to that level and plant it so you can see both trunks, that would be better. But we'll see how we go. So I'm just chipping away at the soil. I don't want to cut or damage too many roots because it's still in full leaf and it's actually got new flower buds on it as well. Although we are coming into winter soon, so it shouldn't matter too much. I could prune it now as well, but I just want to stick it in this other pot really and not worry too much about the roots and stuff. But if I can remove enough to expose both trunks, then I will. It's looking good so far. Most of the roots are down the bottom, so the tree shouldn't even notice me doing this, hopefully, as long as I don't actually break too many. So I'll crack on and we'll get it into this nice big pot. So I think we're about done now. A few of the roots have not been great, so like this one's been crossing round. So all I've been doing is, without breaking any, is just pulling them very gently out of there, and then we can just thread all them down to the bottom of the pot and angle this outwards so that we don't get any more roots going round and round and round. But I've got down to where you can see both trunks, so I'm about ready to plant it in the other pot now. So it's a really thick cutting, we're about 1 inch. Right, so I've got it in there now. I've just put a big rock in there so I can actually let go of it and show you guys. So I've still got to put a load more soil in, but all I've done is try to angle the roots outwards. Keeps wanting to fall over at the moment, but I'll get the rest of the soil in and firm it down, it should be alright. I don't know whether to leave them in there or not. Obviously not the big rock, but we'll see what I decide. Right, so I've got it to the point where I can let go of it, and I've decided on that angle. That's where it kind of balances itself. I've got a couple of big poky out roots, which I may well chop off at some point, but not at the moment. So all I'm doing is filling up with soil and just quite aggressively pushing it in between the roots with my fingers. You can use a tool if you want, probably a good idea. And that'll hold it still and fill in any air pockets. Any big gaps, we don't want any gaps in there. We want it nice and firm in there. And then I may put some sort of support in there just because it's quite top heavy, like in general, like before. It kept blowing over in this pot. Even when it was rooted in the ground, it would fall over sideways like that. So it's got a lot of foliage for the amount of roots it's got. Almost finished filling it up now. Yeah, so I'm just really jamming the soil in there. Obviously being careful with the roots, but I want it to be quite sturdy in the pot. And the more soil I can get in here, the better. Just using the handle of something. And I'll just throw more and more soil on till the pot's full. And then I'll probably put some sort of support in here, a bit of bamboo or a big stick or something. Might even put these back on the top just to stop the chickens, because they like to rake in the freshly dug over soil. Okay, so I've just finished repotting it. It's starting to get dark now, so hopefully you can still see. And if you're into bonsai, you'll know a lot of the time they tie the trees in, and you can see why. I am tempted to get some wire and tie it in, but I'll just put some rocks on there, hopefully it'll stay still. If we do any wind, I'll probably put a stake in there or something. Just a stick or a bit of bamboo or something. But I've really compacted the soil, filled in all the air pockets. What on earth is that? Nice little bulb from something, so I can go in there. And hopefully it'll do well in there. I'll drag it out in a minute and give you a proper look. Okay, so there's the tree all potted up. I could have actually angled it more that way, but that's kind of just where it wanted to rest. So what I could do, what I probably will do, is just put a bit of wire on this branch get that to grow outwards, because it's kind of just wanting to go back in there. And that'll balance it out a bit more. And I probably will get a bit of bamboo to secure it to for now. Right, so I've got a bit of wood here I'm gonna use to support it. I'm just gonna dig it in as far as I can. Obviously trying to be careful with the roots. I know where they are, so I can try and avoid them when putting that in. And then I've got some aluminium craft wire or bonsai wire, quite thick stuff. And I'm going to put that on this branch just to make that one go where I want it to go instead of going up there. That's where it wants to go. I want it to go out this way to kind of balance the tree a bit, because it's all leaning that way at the moment. So I'll get that done. So I've just measured up a bit of wire, just the same length for this branch here, well longer actually, because I'm going to take it down this branch and then maybe to this one, although this one's quite delicate, so as long as I can anchor it on somewhere, maybe even onto that stub, or just take it down a bit further so it's well anchored, and then wrap around this branch, hopefully all the way up to the end. So like I said, this aluminium wire, 3mm I think. So I'm going to cut this. That little notch there is meant for cutting wire on a lot of secateurs. And then I'm going to wrap it around the trunk, around the stem. So I very carefully wrapped around this one a little bit, just to kind of anchor it. I can push that one out more sideways, not too much because it's very new growth and it's really delicate at the moment. And with this bit I'm just going to take it up, just wrapping it around like that, trying to keep the coils quite similar. All the way up to the top of this branch. Difficult to do with one hand, but you get the idea. Avoid the leaves and stuff and the new buds. Okay, so the wire's on. I've kind of misjudged it a bit. I haven't actually got enough to go to the end. But it doesn't matter, I can still move it outwards and redirect that branch. Just snapped it a bit. That's annoying, but hopefully it'll be alright. Still a lot of bark connected, so should still be fine. I'm not editing it out. Yeah, I just wanted it pointing out that way, just to even the tree out, like I said. There was a lot growing this way. We can prune some of this back at a later date. So we'll try and get that stake in there now. Okay, so I'll put that stick in there, stake. And I'm probably just going to use some bonsai wire because I can't bother to go and get anything else. Although it is expensive, so I might go get some cheaper wire and just tie it onto there. A bit of twine or something might be a bit gentler on the bark. But these Buddleja are tough old things, so whatever I do, I'm sure it'll be fine. So I'll just put a bit of string around that stake. Doesn't have to be extravagant, just so it can't slip down. I'll put it in the notch there and there, and then just wrapped around and tied it. It'll just hold it a little bit stiller for now. It's quite stable now anyway. And if it were forecast any major wind, I might come up with something else at some point, or if it falls over. Okay, so that's that Buddleja repotted into there. Wired that little branch outwards. So I will try and keep you updated on this. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Any questions, leave them down below. And I'll see you on the next one.